The views expressed on the Nova Society are those of the panelists and guests and do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of the Phoenix Research Institute or any institution which any panel member is associated.
Welcome back to the Nova Society. I'm your host, Dr. Brooklyn Ann Weldon, and I'm here with my panel, my favorites and yours, Dr. Scott Gershwer and Dr. Mark Bound. Today we will be answering listener emails, and we have a question from Braden, who lives in Tallahassee, Florida. And Braden asks, protests against ICE agents are in full swing in Portland and Chicago. In Chicago, ICE agents and Kristi Noem have been denied access to bathrooms and restaurants. In Portland, people dress up in frog costumes and taunt ICE. There is a current hold on sending the National Guard to these cities. So, I would ask, do you think these protests are effective? Do you think they are supported by the general population? If this were to go to SCOTUS, do you think they would uphold the lower court's decisions? Finally, I saw where a pastor was hit in the head with a pepper ball. Should the shooter be charged, and can he be charged? I think yes, he should. Can he? I don't know.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know if anybody knows who took the shot. But
I don't know.
That could be found out.
You can be killed with that. Can you
Absolutely.
not? Yeah. And I saw also where a reporter had been, and again, I'm sorry, I can't remember who this was, a British reporter, journalist in California, I believe. No, yeah, California earlier had been shot in the thigh with a flashbang, and the person held it up. And this thing, I'd never seen one before. I'm being a civilian. A flashbang, those things are enormous. I didn't realize how large they are. And he had to have it removed, the journalist had to have it removed surgically. And a person can bleed to death from this stuff. They could have killed this pastor. He wasn't doing anything.
Yeah. I mean, these are frightening times for people who care about democracy and the rule of law. Because these are very, very, I don't even think it's actually a shady matter. I think it's absolutely black and white that these are assaults on people, and that they're fascist, that they're authoritarian, that these guys are carrying out orders. In a lot of cases, it doesn't seem that they have proper training. That their actions are the actions of thugs, not police officers. There's a huge difference there. I happen to support the police very much, and a lot of that is due to the fact that they are trained very well in de-escalating high voltage situations, and these guys don't seem to be capable of that at all. And that these are tests of the boundaries. Look, I mentioned in an earlier podcast the Venezuelan shootings, right? These taking out these boats that are on the grounds, no evidence offered that they're drug smugglers. And when you complain about it, the administration says, so you're for drug smuggling.
Yeah.
Which is obviously ridiculous.
Yeah.
But we will see, because Duterte is one of his favorite dictators. We will see at some point, and I'm going to predict. I know you love that.
Oh boy, here we go.
That sometime this semester, by the end of December, let's say, that somebody will be shot down dead in the street for no good reason at all, not holding a gun to anybody, just going about their business, and the excuse will be that they were a drug dealer dealing drugs and they were taken out. That is something that the Philippines' former president Duterte is currently being tried for in the International Criminal Court, and it is something that Trump will at some point be subject to, should he live long enough. Hopefully not. That eventually the law will catch up to him for ordering these kinds of these practices, and the protests are amazing. They're great. I mean, I've never been to Portland, but I have to say I love the people of Portland for what they're doing. I think it's fantastic. It's got nerve. It's got a little panache. to it. It's a little crazy, and it certainly meets the moment. And this weekend again is a No Kings protest. I hope people really turn out for it, because we cannot have our government sending troops out in our cities to practice urban warfare against us. It is just not tolerable.
No, no. So first of all, take the last part of this. Should they be charged? Yes. Could they figure out who shot the pepper ball? Yes, they can, because it shows the roof and the people who are on the roof. I'm sure that would be able to do that. Can they be charged? The answer to that is yes, they can. Unfortunately, if somebody in law enforcement does cause somebody either violates their rights or does something like hit a pastor in the head with a pepper ball, yes, they can be prosecuted, but it's very complex. It's an extremely complex process compared to the normal, process of just somebody shooting somebody or something like that. So yes, they can. And the person could also do civil. There could be a civil suit, not only filed against the person that shot the pepper ball, but against the agency itself. Once again, you're taking on, the big boy here. You're taking on ICE. And would it be a complex process? Yes, but it is very possible to take on and to sue them for that incident. So the protests, Scott, I totally agree with you. They are making a huge joke over something that is almost laughable. I saw J.B. Pritzker, the governor of Illinois, was on because somebody said, one of the late night guys said, hashtag show me your hellhole or something like that. And Pritzker got on the thing, and he was in a flap jacket and all that. He's walking down to Chicago, and he says, yep, we're being invaded. Those Milwaukee Brewers are here trying to take our Chicago Cubs. Oh my good. People are trying to make us eat hot dogs with ketchup on it. It's a terrible hellscape that I'm living in. And it's poking a lot of fun at something that basically is so ridiculous. And to see the guys out there in the frog suits, which that is absolutely classic stuff. And now they've got them out there with, My Little Pony suits, and they're all, that's the way you do it. And they're doing it nonviolently. And I totally agree, Scott. There's going to be somebody's going to get shot down and killed. Somebody just peacefully protesting. We've seen protests on the news where old people have been knocked down, when they've been knocked to the ground, simply because, you got to back up. No, they don't. They're on public property. They don't have to back up. This is public property, and it's a shame. So, I always said that, the ICE. I don't know why you'd want to be in this organization. I really don't. I mean, your life must have been pretty damn pathetic, to say, yeah, I need to go beat up on old people or people in a frog suit so that I can feel like a man. That's again back to the machismo thing. And I'm sorry, you guys look weak, you look pathetic, and yes, go find a bathroom someplace else, Kristi Noem, and your ICE agents. And yeah, in Chicago, my wife's from Chicago. We have friends in Chicago we talk to quite often. And there's a lot of restaurants that are basically saying, oh, you're an ICE agent? Yeah, no, we're not serving you. You have to serve us. No, I really don't. And they're booting them out. And they always remind them, hey, remember, you were the guys that said that, if I was a gay couple and I went to get a cake made, that cake maker, because I was a gay couple, could say, no, I don't want to serve you. Well, you're a fascist. I'm not. I choose not to serve you, and no, you may not use our bathroom. So, it all comes around. What goes around comes around. And, as far as SCOTUS is concerned, who knows? At this point in time, who knows? That's an up in the air thing. If they do posse comitatus, if they take it to that, then the answer would probably be they should uphold it. The thing is the way it's being framed. It's not being framed of being law enforcement in the streets of Chicago or Portland. Is being framed protecting federal property. That's the way it's being framed. So it'll be interesting to see how SCOTUS and how those arguments are presented.
All right.
So, sorry, Mark, I've got a couple of questions.
Oh, hell.
What about I saw on a again another protest where a woman was struck by a car driven by ICE, and a number of other people saw it. And I guess the ICE person drove off, and people were shouting hit and run, and so forth. What about that? Can that person also be?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, just because you're a federal agent does not protect you from prosecution.
What are the chances, though, of that actually happening?
Yeah, like I said, it all depends on the state, the prosecutor of the jurisdiction they're in, how much how willing they are to go after this. But again, it's a complex process. It's a lot different process than, say, two people get into a gun battle, fear the neighbors, and somebody shoots somebody. Okay, that goes to the court. But if it's a law enforcement officer, just a regular law enforcement officer, that process gets a little bit more complex because of the position and because of the duties of the officer. So you've got to divide out what was the duty of the officer, what wasn't the duty of the officer. Did he go against color of law? Did he violate his oath? Did he violate a constitutional right? Was he acting within the confines of what his duties are supposed to be? Now, that's a regular law enforcement officer. And I can understand that because, let's face it, law enforcement officers carry guns. They deal with criminals. Yeah, there's a little bit of a different process there. Now you get into the federal, and we all know how federal can be. It gets even more complex. What was the function? So it would be very difficult, I would think, for somebody to say, well, let's take the pastor first, for instance, that somebody on the top of a roof, a pastor who was on the street, not on the property, not on the federal property, that it was within his duties as whatever function he was doing to shoot him in the head with a pepper ball. That's a tough one to argue. And it would even be more difficult to argue that it is within the realm of the duties of an ICE agent to run somebody over and then leave the scene. I don't know about you, but I don't want to be the defense attorney on that one, because that just to me sounds like an absolute loser. Because you just cannot say, oh yeah, well, ICE agents, they're supposed to run over people and then drive away. I just can't see. I can't see anybody making that argument. But hey.
My concern with SCOTUS is that they'll say, well, yeah, we'll consider it, but while we're considering it, the behavior can continue or whatever it is, which is what they've been doing.
That's, again, welcome to the legal system. The wheels of justice move very slowly. How many cases take years and years and years? And we're not even talking really complex ones. You get a lawyer that files enough motions, he could take your thing and it could go on years and years. I have a good friend of mine here is the deputy solicitor, and he'll tell you, I'm working on this case. When did it happen? 4 years ago. But he's got a good lawyer. He continually files motions, continually, uses the system, and it's not being dishonest. It's using the system, and they can't do anything until it comes to trial. Oh, and then after trial, now you get a chance to appeal. So it's just that's one of the reasons I did not become a lawyer, because I would have no patience for it. That would make me nuts. My attitude is, let's just go into the court, decide this, let's move on. But that's not the way it works in the system. And as far as SCOTUS is concerned, I'm going to give them a little bit of a pass on this. It all depends on the argument that is being made as to why the National Guard should be there. If it's for police work, then the answer is no, because obviously it's against posse comitatus. If it is framed and can be proven, it is to protect federal assets. That might fly. That might fly. So we have to see how the argument is made and how the counter argument is brought up before. You got to give SCOTUS a little bit of a leeway on that one. I know you don't like to. I know I saw you scrunch your face, but you got to do it, Brooklyn. You got to give them a little bit of leeway.
But the whatever federalizing of Abbott's, Texas, to go to
Governor
Illinois?
Governor Abbott has the power to allow that.
Yeah, they should do that. They should go there. They should go in places where they're welcome.
I mean, but he has the ability to take his National Guard and turn to Trump and say, "Here, you can use my National Guard."
Yeah, but Governor Pritzker said they're not welcome, and I noticed that other Governor Shapiro, is it in Pennsylvania, and other governors have said I've signed in Seattle also, the governor of Washington State, and also the mayor of Seattle. You can't come here. We don't want you. It's not legal,
and that's fine. If the reason, and here's for Pritzker and for Shapiro, if for the reason is to occupy the city with National Guard to do policing action, such as stopping these Portland from burning or whatever, which is, believe it or not happening at all. And unless you've got, the little froggy things doing that, but no, it's not happening. That the governor of the state can say, no, you can't. I don't want your National Guard here. But the governor of the state has no control over the federal properties. That is the federal government. That is the federal government that has that. And if the federal government can make the argument that those properties are in danger, now it gets shady. But here's the thing where I think they lose. They lose when they say they are there to help the ICE agents be able to conduct their function. What are the ICE agents doing? Deporting. That's a law enforcement. That's more toward law enforcement than it is toward military action. And if you're saying that they're there to protect and help ICE perform their function, now I think you've got the argument that no, that's law enforcement, and posse comitatus. You cannot use the military as law enforcement on the United States soil. So
until you have the Insurrection Act that you've
once again, you've got to prove that there's an insurrection.
Yeah, well, but I think he can also say, well, once the courts aren't working, then you don't have a functioning government. And on Friday of this week, I think it is, the courts will run out of money. And then unless the courts can come in and operate without funds and just say, well, we're coming into work anyway, isn't that also?
Federal courts will still be running.
Even without funds?
Federal courts will still be running. The post office, guess what? The post office will continue to work. Parts of the IRS will continue to work. There are certain...
The ones that haven't lost their jobs yet, yeah.
Yeah, the ones that haven't lost their jobs, they will continue to work. I mean, there's certain... Even though it's a government shutdown, there's certain people... The Congress still gets paid. President still gets paid. Supreme Court still gets paid. All the people working under them and for them, the support group that they have working for them, they get paid. So there's, the idea that the entire government is shut down is a little bit of a misnomer. The part of the government that matters to the American people, truly matters to us, that's shut down. But Mike Johnson's still getting his paycheck. So let's go punch him in the face. Yeah. Scott wants to.
I do. I really do. Well, it's just a face that begs for it. I want to go back to Portland for a second, because I was remembering in 2020 how bad things were in Portland, right? And they seem to be completely the opposite of that now. And I think a big difference is that now what people are saying in Portland is that if there's any tension, if there's any crime, if there's any rioting that's going on in Portland, it's the federal government, the federal people that are there, ICE and whatnot, who are causing it. And we saw that in Portland, in particular in 2020, when then Attorney General Bill Barr sent an uninsigniated army to Portland. And there was actually a really disturbing case where a sort of Antifa, I'm putting that in quotes, folks, because there is no real such thing as Antifa, but there was an anti-fascist protester who was charged in the death of a right-wing protester. The two of them had gotten into a fight, and Michael Forrest Reinhold shot the right-wing protester and was charged for it. He tried to escape. He was caught in Washington State later on by U.S. Marshals and shot 40 times and killed. And I remember this really vividly because Trump was running for re-election at the time, went to one of his rallies and claimed or boasted about it, really, that the U.S. Marshals took 15 minutes, knew who he was, knew that they didn't want to arrest him, and in 15 minutes that ended it. And at the time, Trump was sort of running behind because of incidents like that were going on in 2020. They haven't spiked yet. And, the summer is over. So we're going to be beyond the long, hot summer effect. But as we move into the fall and towards winter, it's going to be interesting to see how these cases pile up and how, the federal government creates conditions that are going to lead to real violence. And if we're going to see an escalation and worse, executions, basically, because this guy it really does seem like he was executed by the federal marshals. And that's going to go a long way, I think, for people who are protesting to not protest peacefully anymore the way that we are right now, and the way these guys in the frog costumes and the people holding donuts off of fishing lines to the police and stuff like that are being obnoxious, but with a little bit of flair. And when it goes to something really bad happening, it will be the federal government that causes this, doesn't quell it. And I think that that's a really important thing for us to avoid. And hopefully the protests stay as peaceful as possible, even though people are getting shot by pepper balls and tear gas and flashbangs and so on and so forth, and that it doesn't end up really bad. But the interesting thing is that, and I don't know if you guys saw this, that among Republican circles and even Trump himself, they've been trying to position 2020, the summer of 2020, as if Joe Biden was the president at the time.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
My name is Sherry Hazard, and this is the Folium Diary. In this diary, I will be recording my impressions of a new program called the Folium. This new app will bring the benefits of Earth's collective wisdom to everyone, everywhere, all the time. If that sounds wildly ambitious, utopian, and, let's face it, kind of crazy, join the club. I will be posting a new page every evening at 9 o'clock. What could possibly go wrong?
Oh, yeah, where they were saying that Biden put, 274 FBI agents in the January 6th, and he forgot that, no, Trump, you were the president. Biden didn't do that.
Right, but he's done it in other cases as well, including cases of violence during the summer of 2020, when he says that's Biden's America right there. And obviously that was Trump's America. But if you look, you're only as smart as your news source. And people who watch Fox and other right-wing news sources where they lie constantly to people we know that they will believe what they're told. And it would be crazy to see, but I think we will, that people begin to think that Trump wasn't president in 2020 anymore. And that all the violence that happened that summer was on Joe Biden's watch and not his. So, stay tuned. We'll see if the craziness continues, but there is a move. There is, I believe, a conscious decision on the part of the Trumpies to go out and say, hey, Trump wasn't even president back then. Biden was. And it's completely untrue.
And you know what, Scott, that's right. And that's why I've said this for probably the last 3 years, I don't worry so much about, I know that Brooklyn worries about the Supreme Court and, Trump and all that stuff. I'm more scared of the people, that they can be that dumb. I mean,
again, you're only as smart as your news source, right? Your information makes you smart, Mark. You are a guy who has good information, and you're a smart guy. But there are plenty of dumb people out there who don't, and I talk to them all the time, it seems, who don't know what's going on. And,
I know.
And they get their news from the wrong places, and they think that things are, they think that New York is a hellhole. I've been in New York City 1,000 times recently, grew up there, obviously. And, it's still the greatest city on earth. It's nothing. And, there's one block in Portland where there were people protesting an ICE facility that's owned by a right winger who actually ran his car into a group of ICE supporters back in 2020. And he owns the land that they've leased for their headquarters. And, there's like a small protest that goes on outside his building every day. And they're trying to turn that into the entire city going up. It's really, Portland, I've never been, but it seems like a really nice city. I hope to get there someday.
Yeah, you and me both. Yep. We'll have to make a road trip.
Yeah.
Road trip.
Well, remember also that
airplane trip.
Trump, remember also that Trump gets his news. I hear what you're saying, Mark, and I understand your point about the people. And yeah, it's becoming that way because ICE is the people, but they're also getting their news. I mean, they're getting their news from Fox, and Trump watches Fox constantly. And I remember reading a study recently that I downloaded. I can probably find it for you. We can attach it, where the leader, it didn't matter whether it was Biden or Trump. The few times that Trump has actually asked, I think this was in the first time around where Trump was president, asked for calm, and Biden also asked for calm. It didn't matter who it was, but what the leader says matters. And Trump is, as we said on an earlier podcast, revving up the rhetoric, and his followers in his cabinet and others who are attached in the White House, Stephen Miller. Oh, it's the Democratic Party. It's not a party anymore. They're terrorists. I mean, that's extremely, it's dangerous. And it really is an enormous problem to have somebody like that speaking in such a manner, and nobody stops him. And Vance repeats the same stuff, and nobody says anything. And Trump is, what he said recently, that we'll do other things to them, how he was going to help some people who deserved it, and for those who like Democrats or something, he would do other things to them, and he didn't specify what those were. This was in a White House presser, and when I heard those words, I thought, oh boy, he didn't specify what those were, and nobody asked him. But he refused to take a question from an ABC reporter saying, oh, you people are so terrible and you're awful and this, that. I mean, Trump is making things worse.
Yeah,
and
he wants
so
to
of
make
course,
things work.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the people,
and he's doing a hell of a job.
And the people are becoming worse.
Yeah.
And while the majority of Americans, as far as I know from the polls that I've seen, do not approve of, or they disapprove of this type of rhetoric, I don't know if there's enough people who will stand up and say so, because of course they're afraid of the rest of the people who will stand up and say, no, this is what we want.
Like I say, do you want to be ruled by a minority? That's fine. You're right. Polls show that Trump is not very popular. Then elect his ass out. There's your recourse. Elect his ass out. Put in a Democratic House. Put in a Democratic Senate. They'll impeach him. You're not happy with them at the levels that we're being told they're not happy with them. And again, they're polls. I don't trust polls very much. It's easy to take a poll over the phone or take a poll on a computer where you have your anonymity. But the fact is that you want to make a difference. If this is all true, then by damn, get out there, put in a Democratic Senate, put in a Democratic Congress with enough votes that can impeach his ass out of office and have it be over and done with. Or if you can't do that, elect his ass out in 2028. Well, actually, shouldn't even be running. So whatever.
Right. Yeah.
But the fact is that, this, you hear a lot of stuff, but you know what? The United States, and I don't only blame the people that just believe in the Trump thing, because again, that's just a cult mentality. That is a total cult mentality. I blame the rest of it. Turnout was down in 2024. You sat at home. So stop whining about the fact that Trump's the president. You should have went out and voted. If you didn't go out and vote against him, then you got no place to whine. You got to participate or sit down and shut up.
Yes. Yep. So I hope, Braden, we've answered your question. Scott, you have anything to add?
No, not at this time.
Okay. All right. Well, sounds like
actually I do. You know what? I'm sorry.
All
No,
right.
I do have something to add, because this has been a disagreement that Mark and I have had, and I'm seeing evidence that he's right and I'm wrong. And
No! Wait a minute. The world's coming to an end.
So my position has been that Trump is the only one who could beat Trump. But now what we're seeing is, I don't know if you guys saw the Politico story, but they published the contents of a Telegram chat that had been ongoing for quite some time, something called the Restore War Room. I don't know what the hell that means. With a lot of very young, very prominent GOP operatives, including the lead counsel for the Young Republican Club of New York or something like that, right? Whatever the thing was. And some of these chats on this thread were incredibly racist and disturbing. I mean, we're talking about calling people monkeys, and the people who like watermelon crowd and things like that. And there's also been a lot of like Holocaust imagery brought up, like we need to get the ovens going again, and can we do something about this? How about we redesign the showers and that kind of thing. And these are young Republicans. Which is, I think, defined on anybody under 40, I guess, is now considered young in American politics, because good Lord knows they're all so old. But it was like 200, this is not like one or two. It's like 250 references that make you kind of cringe and go, oh my God, they didn't really put that in writing, but they did. And so the young Republicans are a huge problem. And that kind of lends itself to Mark's idea that this is going to go on for a while. Like, the racists are out there. They're young, they're active, and they're extremely racist and divisive people. And it's a little scary, I got to say. It is a little sobering. So that's all I have to say about that. I'm sure we'll get questions on that next week, some more, because this is going to end up being a big deal, I think.
Okay, so Brooklyn, take us out real quick, because Scott just said I was right about something, and I don't want to lose that moment.
All right,
you don't want me talking about blind squirrels finding an acorn every now and then.
Ouch! Oh, ouch!
So Mark is in triumph. He has been been declared victorious in a view of his. Thank you so much, Braden, for your question. Thank you to all our listeners for all your questions and for your time. And if you are not yet subscribed on the platform of your choice, please do so. Subscribing is free and helps us grow our channel. And so we will see you again next time on the Nova Society.
The Nova Society is a production of Nova Society Media, a division of the Phoenix Research Institute. We'd like to thank our production partners, Buzzsprout, who hosts the Nova Society, Audacity, our editing partners, Apple iTunes, the largest source of podcasts and music on the internet, Spotify, the most popular platform for the Nova Society, and iHeartRadio, your source for all things music and podcasting. The Nova Society is available on all of these and other quality platforms listed in our description. We'd also like to thank all of our listeners. Without your support, the Nova Society would not be possible. If you have a question or comment, we can be reached at nova.society.podcast@gmail.com. So for Dr. Brooklyn Ann Weldon, Dr. Scott Gershwer, and all of our production partners here at the Nova Society, I'm Dr. Mark Bound. Remember, the true power in society is knowledge. Thanks for listening, and we will see you again next time. We'd like to thank our sponsor for this episode, the Phoenix Research Group, an independent research consortium offering social-political issue solutions to NGOs and international government agencies through multidisciplinary, nonpartisan, and unbiased research. The Phoenix Research Group is a division of the Phoenix Research Institute, the producer of the Nova Society podcast.